Hey friends, welcome back to Attacking Third. Happy New Year, happy holidays. Did you set your resolutions? Did you eat some good food? I hope that you did. I'm your host, Darian Jenkins, joined by Jen Beattie, McCall Zerboni. Welcome to Attacking Third, everybody. We have a very fun show for you today. We are talking about the biggest moves we've seen in the transfer market, U.S. Women's National Team roster reactions, which just dropped, New Year, new NWSL, some possible rebrands, refreshes, TLC we want to see for some clubs, maybe the league. And we're also playing a fun segment called I'm Starting a Rumor about our dream transfers. Everybody, thank you for joining us, whether you're here live on YouTube, listening as a pod, or with us on Galazzo.net. We appreciate it so much. Jen, McCall, Happy New Year, ladies. How was your New Year's? Did you guys go out? What was it like? Jen, let's hear. Jen, I feel like you stayed in. Did you stay up till midnight?
We did. Last year we didn't make it to midnight. We were well and truly asleep, but this year we ventured out. We had a lovely dinner. I'm not gonna say it was any crazy night out because it definitely wasn't. I think we were honestly home by 12:45, which is quite funny. But no, I had a lovely dinner with some friends locally, and it was really, really nice actually. Yeah, Happy New Year, guys. What about you? What did you guys get up to?
I had a little life hack because I was on Central Time, so I got to see the New York ball drop on TV, but I was still an hour before my bedtime, so it was perfect. Just did dinner with my father and some friends. It was so lovely. I'm literally so excited about this year, you guys. Like, I have really good feels. I don't know if you feel this way, but I'm like, amazing things are going to happen all across the board for you, for me. Let's go.
Oh, I love that energy, McCall. Where was I? I was in Florida. I was with the friend's boyfriend, his family, and just watched the ball drop on TV with Andy Cohen. Love that man. And yeah, it was great. And then went on a little vacation. So I started my new year in the sun, which was great.
What's it like having a January birthday also? Happy birthday.
Yeah. Thank you. Shout out to my other Capricorns. I'm not gonna lie, it's kind of brutal because it's when everyone's doing dry January, you spent all your money on vacation, you have your New Year's resolutions, nobody wants to go out, you just came back from vacation. So this year I was like, you know what? I feel like I'm into my 30s now. I'm just gonna go on trips for my birthday from now on. I'm just gonna go start in the sun.
No one's down in January, but D, I'm always down for you, just so you know.
McCall, I know. I appreciate you.
Ring a ding a ding, okay?
Yeah, wherever the vacation is next year.
A3 overseas, somewhere warm. We'll be doing it remote. Just you guys watch for number 32. Everybody, Happy New Year. Thank you so much for your good energy. Let's bring this into women's football. Let's look at some of the biggest transfers because, y'all, it has been busy. I felt like every time I opened up my phone, I tried to be offline as much as possible, but there was massive changes. Even today, saw some new signings with Gotham, but some of the ones that have really stuck out, at least to me, have been the departures from San Diego. First things first, what is going on there? Because we are seeing the likes of Kaylin Sheridan. We don't know where she's going. Savannah McCaskill is going to Gotham, which I think is a huge, huge signing. And Hannah Lundqvist is going to Man United, which is a very interesting changeup. And I know you both have thoughts, but when I look at San Diego Wave, I thought they were such a talented team the first half of the season. I thought they had the perfect groove. They were playing beautifully. It's a style that was so attractive to everybody. Jonas Eidevall, I think, made a really good imprint initially. They kind of lost it in that midway point. Latter half of the season, it came back. But then you're losing all of these really big players to me that were instrumental in the team's success, especially early on. And one of the best goalkeepers, I think, with her feet possible, is departing the team. So that's where I have some question marks. Excited for these players and their journeys and their new destinations and what that's going to look like. But for San Diego, I'm like, what the hell is going on over there?
I'm agreeing with you. I think it's a great point. I think they were a really fun team to watch. And I think when you see starters leave, right? And we saw it with Germa in seasons prior as well. When you're seeing top players go, you're kind of thinking, okay, who will they bring in? So I think everyone's expecting, because those players have to be replaced if they again want to progress this year and reach higher in the ladder and chase the success that they've already had really early on in their team's history. But I'm agreeing with you. Their top players leaving. I'm intrigued to see who they get in to replace. But Hannah Lundqvist was one of my favorite players to watch from that team, and from a flip side perspective, Manchester United have done some business with Leo Schuler and Lundqvist coming in. I think said it already. Lundqvist was an out and out starter, and I think to be that at 23 in the NWSL is a hard thing to do. And she looked like a vet in that team, kind of being so consistent. So we always said from a Champions League perspective, who are they going to bring to kind of bolster their squad and have more depth? Two really, really good signings, and they've started contract talks with other players in their team. So, but from an NWSL perspective, that is big players in the wave. So I completely get your perspective, Darian, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I'm genuinely sad to see Lundqvist leave the NWSL. She was one of my favorite players to watch last year. And every time I found myself calling in a San Diego game, I kept saying her name over and over again. Like, she was literally involved in every play. She had an engine. She can get up and down that field. Great defender, creative. I thought she was such a great addition to the NWSL this past season and brought a little different flavor than we haven't seen before. And so to see her leave, even though I'm a Manchester United fan, it was still like, dang it, she was one of my bright spots last year for sure.
I'm also, just to switch it over, I'm really excited for Rachel Hill going to Racing Louisville. I mean, she was a great friend when I was at BFC, and the way she'll fit their style, though, is down to a T. Like, that sort of high pressing energy, that's her probably best attribute, is way she can sort of read the game and pounce on defenders from a high press. I think she'll really suit it there. She's a great character, one of the best team players I've ever played with. So I'm really excited for her to go and work with Bev Yanez. Obviously, top coach last season, did an amazing job with Louisville. So really excited for that move. I think that's awesome for her.
Yeah, I love that. When I think of Louisville, Rachel Hill is definitive of how they play, the heart, the style, the grit. Somebody else that kind of makes me think of that too, which another transfer is Brittany Ratcliffe from the Spirit. Great teammate, grinds it out, is there, and no matter what their role is, but a player that I think every team is lucky to have. But I mean, guys, massive changes. We're looking at Ari Borges going to Angel City from Louisville, Bia Zanalat to Palmeiras from Kansas City, which I think is a huge departure. Michelle Lozia going to Chicago from the Dash, which is another team that I just have so many question marks about. But also Boston and Denver have made some massive signings. We'll have the first Ugandan to play in the NWSL for Boston, Fazia Najemba. I hope I'm pronouncing her name right. But I love these moves. I love seeing the growth of the league. And I know there's just going to be many, many more changes as well, especially as those two expansion teams pick out their rosters and finalize everything. But players aren't the only ones that are making moves. We also have coaches, of course. The coaching drama continues in women's football. The two teams that have vacancies, Portland Thorns and the North Carolina Courage, still January 8th do not have coaches to run these teams, to give programming out, to just kind of get you settled, I think, as a player when you're looking to go into your team or you're reporting or you're already there. If you're a rookie going into the league.
Say you're looking at the NWSL and you're like, I want to go play there. How are you going to choose that club when you don't even know who the coach is? So by not having an appointed coach, they're already running behind in player recruitment and commitment, I think. But this was my biggest concern when the NWSL almost became where there was too much choice and too much freedom with the players and the coaches. And so like this
coaching with free agency?
Yeah, with free agency and just I think the league and the organizations and the clubs are acting very flippant with their coaching, hiring, and firing. It's like a vagabond energy. That's why we're seeing these vacancies right now. Like people coming and going all the time. There's no consistency. And that's going to leave the league less attractive for other coaches to want to come coach here because they're like, well, everyone's getting hired and fired. Why would I go leave my job now to go coach in the NWSL? Because from the looks of it, it only lasts for like a year or two at a time. So now it's going to become a less attractive product for coaches to come coach in the NWSL because you're basically hired to get fired or something happens and there's just too much change. So we need that coaching influence to come, but for the right reasons. And so that's leading me on to Chris Armas. What are his reasonings for coming to the NWSL? You've been in the men's game the entire time. And, you know, we'll talk about his quote later that I'll lean on, but a learning curve. That's what he was quoted as saying. I don't want coaches that are coming here to learn and take from us. I want coaches that are coming here to help us develop our players and give to this sport and this league.
Yeah, just to give a little bit of context, the coach that we're talking about, Chris Armas, KC announced that is the new coach replacing Vlatko Antonovsky this season. He previously coached the New York Red Bulls, Toronto FC, and the Colorado Rapids, as well as interim roles in men's teams with Man United and Leeds United. So a lot of experience, but none in the women's game, except a little tenured coaching he did with his alma mater. But one of the Longs, Chris Long, came out and said he is some of the most tenured coaches in women's football were interested in the job. Armas' only previous experience in the women's game was was the Adelphi University, which is where he coached for 4 years. Chris Armas was quoted saying, "It's a learning curve for me to learn the league and the different tactical setups, the player pool for sure, and then my team." Not the best quote you want to see from a head coach coming into the NWSL, especially a team like Kansas City, who has the most clear identity to me in the NWSL, the most player for player on paper talent, domineering team. You have Temwa Shawinga leading the team. You have a spine that is so strong. You should know what this team is watching 5 games from them last season. So I'm kind of curious, McCall, with hearing that quote, you know, you mentioned you were going to lean on it earlier. It's not the best quote. I think he was being a little too obvious, too honest in that interview that he did. But what does it kind of say to you when he says those things where he's talking about the big learning curve from literally every facet that comes from switching to this league?
Yeah, not the best start, buddy. No, I mean, he's been in the men's game the whole time in respectively great spots. Manchester United, Leeds, like great experience, right? But when you're trying to keep a female pack of wolves committed to their leader, that is a whole different ballgame. Like it's a completely different landscape to work in the women's game. And the fact that he has no experience really does alarm me because we operate differently in team environments than men do. And I'm sure he has a lot of game knowledge, but that's why they call it a manager overseas, because you need to manage those personalities and manage your players and those people. And I think that's going to be a really big, stark challenge and contrast for him coming into this league and working with women.
I do see everyone's point in this. I really do, but I think there's something. I'll openly say Nick Cushing was my coach at Man City, and he'd never worked with women before he coached us, and he's still to this day one of the best coaches I've ever had. So I sometimes don't think you necessarily have to work in the women's game to understand that it's just 11 players on a pitch, and that's what, like, I understand that it's different learning the player pool. That I completely get. If you're so used to learning and being educated in the men's game and, you know, recruitment in the men's game, your focus is on male players, I think. But some aspects of that might be refreshing because you're seeing everything firsthand. You have no sort of, knowledge of what's happened before. You're seeing everything for what it is now. And that's where Vlatko comes in. He's the education piece. He's there firsthand every day to kind of, operate together and come up with something really special. So no, I get everyone's perspective of experience in the women's game, but I do think sometimes that doesn't matter. I believe it should be the best person for the job, men or women's game. And, you know, with a franchise like KC, who were so successful last year and one of the best teams to watch and one of the most exciting teams, I've no doubt that their process has been really thorough. And again, with Vlatko still in the picture and still sort of operating from a higher up role in that sense, he'll still be hugely impactful. So yeah, I'm excited to, if we get to chat to some players, I'll be excited to see their perspective of how that goes early on.
I hope you're right. That's all I have to say.
You never know. I completely get what you're saying. But I specifically remember Nick Cushing saying to us, I just see it as 11 players on the pitch. And I found that really refreshing, that it didn't really matter. And he was one of the best tactical coaches I've sort of ever had. So
We'll slowly just see Vlaco come down from the suite and just start.
He's going to be a row lower each game.
Nah, actually, I'm head coach again. Sorry, move.
No, I think you both make really good points with this. It's so difficult because I think this is almost a larger conversation about why is it so difficult to hire talented coaches in the NWSL and retain them? We know that they're out there, but why is it so hard to retain them? What is the setup? Is it just foundationally with some clubs or with the league? Not finding the actual right fit, not maybe giving people enough of a runway, maybe not the development that the NWSL needs to have coaches that come from our own league that make their imprint. But I also, in Jen's, what she's saying, some of my favorite coaches were coaches that were coaching women's teams for the first time. And I do think it's a huge asset to still have Milan, Freya Coombe, the assistant coaches for Kansas City, staying with the team to help that transition. Vladko's the sporting director. We've been coached by Vladko. We know he likes to be very involved. He's going to leave his imprint. He's going to answer questions. He's there to help. So I actually think this is a really interesting move, and I'm looking forward to seeing what comes of it. And if maybe that's going to inspire more coaches that have a background in MLS or European clubs on the men's side come over to the NWSL.
Well. If it goes well.
If it goes well.
Yeah. But I have a question for you, Dee. So, yes, there's coaches in and out. Do you think that's more so the club's decision or the coach's decision to leave? So if there's two choices, it's 50-50. Which is tipped over the line? Is it more the team doesn't want them there anymore or the coach doesn't want to be there anymore?
I think it's so tough. Jen, do you have a thought?
No, I'm saying just to sort of understand. You mean in and out of the NWSL, or
or just like they'll get a job, like even moving from another team in an NWSL to another team, like just no one stays in one market for a very long time. What is that? Yeah.
Market? Do you mean by club?
Club.
Our terminologies are like right. Staying in market, staying in the one club. Yeah. Okay. I get you. Go on.
It's difficult because I feel it's so situational. I mean, not to call a team out, but I look at a team like Utah Royals where I'm like, I feel like that was rushed. Who was going to come in their first year and do well? But they signed a big name in A-Rod, who is a very young coach. We know how talented she is, but like, was she set up to succeed? I don't know if in a lot of these markets, because the NWSL, I think, is still maybe saying yes and pushing things forward so quickly without proper foundation for things to be successful. And maybe that's going to be a little bit slower. But I think that that's more so the crux of the issue, is that we look at competing leagues and NWSL's trying to keep up a lot of the time and say yes and push, but it's the foundation isn't firm, isn't super strong yet. We're still figuring things out. We are still a very young league. So to me, bringing in coaches and trying to develop coaches that we don't have the proper pipeline for even yet makes it incredibly difficult. But I don't know if you guys have differing opinions on that.
No, so I would ask you back, McCall, what do you think is like how long do you think a manager should stay in market for that to be a long time?
This is like a little off topic, on topic, but my brain just ran when you mentioned Amy Rodriguez. Too much newness is really difficult to find success. So when you find these new expansion teams, right, they have new players, new coaches, new staff all around, new to the city, new to the training environment, new together, because they obviously haven't played on a team together. Like everything is new. And it's really, really hard when you don't have a foundational structure and familiarity at your club, an identity yet. I mean, these teams have to build their identity from the ground up from day one when they report in preseason. That is a tall task. And so it's very important to me that you get a coach that at least knows the women's landscape and the league very well if you're an expansion team. So back to Chris Armas, he's walking into a very large identity and foundation to kind of build on your point a little bit, Jen. Those players already know and understand their roles. They already know the city. They know their training facility. They've played together for multiple years. So that will be to his advantage. But again, too much newness with coaches, players, et cetera, really difficult to find success.
Yeah, I agree. Even my first year at Kansas City, it was a rebrand. We were in trailers. Everything was new. First time head coach for a pro team. It did not mesh well. it was my most unsuccessful season as a pro. And it was the most new setup I'd ever walked into in my life as far as football goes. So, McCall, I think that's a really good point. But Jen, do you feel any type of way about that?
Yeah, because then I feel like I've experienced the flip side, having been at one club for a long time and have a brand and identity at Arsenal, and playing what we called the Arsenal way, which we then figured out wasn't actually written down anywhere. We just always said the Arsenal way. So then we had different managers, Joe Montemurro, Laura Harvey, Jonas Eidevall, and now, very different styles come into that Arsenal brand. So I think it has to work both ways. You have to have a club with its identity and its style, but a manager who's willing to come in and develop and grow within that, and also have their own styles and identities. It always has to be a mesh of recruitment, branding, everything. It's a really interesting. We could do a whole podcast about this, guys.
Yeah,
we could.
Honestly, this
and chemistry. The biggest factor is chemistry to me too.
Like long-term recruitment strategy has to be players and manager and staff to all fit in within that.
Honestly, this league is too big, too complex, and too successful now for someone to be a first-time head coach in this league. They cannot come here as their first head job. They need some experience somewhere else, and or have been an assistant for 10 years in the NWSL underneath somebody, but even then, really difficult.
Yeah, it's tough. It's a brutally. You agree?
Well, are you meaning like first time in the women's game or first?
Yeah, because like Amy Rodriguez had never been a head coach before. And then they also put her in expansion team. That's a recipe for a really difficult time.
Yeah, that's tough. That's a big job.
Yeah.
It's a huge job.
Yeah.
Woo! So many transfers, so many changes. Who's going to be coaching some of these teams? We don't know. But we do have a very reliable coach in the U.S. Women's National Team who also made some changes to this January roster that just dropped. So we're going to chop it up about that next. So stick with us after this quick break.
You can always count on Sundays with the NFL on CBS and Paramount Plus. So even if you can't count on accurate expiration dates,
that is a rookie mistake,
or people appreciating your fashion sense,
Jim, the crowd is not on board here.
You can always count on Sundays with the NFL on CBS, streaming on Paramount Plus.
Glad we wear our good jerseys.
Yeah.
Welcome back to A3, friends. Let's talk about the U.S. Women's National Team roster that just dropped for the Old Faithful January camp of this year. Let's start first with the goalkeepers. We have Claudia Dickey, Mandy McGlynn, and Jordan Silkowitz getting the call-ups. Now for defenders, a bunch of new faces: Jordan Bugg, Avery Patterson, Izzy Rodriguez, Tara Rudd, formerly known as Tara Mickione, as she and so many players got married this offseason, Emily Sams, Giselle Thompson, Kennedy Wesley, and Kate Wiesner of the Washington Spirit. Jumping up to the midfield, we have Corey Bethune leading this with Hal Hirschfeld, Claire Hutton, Riley Jackson, Lola Bonta, Sally Menti, Sam Meza, and Olivia Moultrie of the Portland Thorns. Last but not least, the forwards. We have Maddie Darlene, Jamise Joseph of Chicago, Trinity Rodman is back, y'all, Yasmin Ryan, Emma Sears, Ali Sentnor, and Raylan Turner of the Portland Thorns. Some of the first-time call-ups, which is Maddie Darlene, Raylan Turner, Jackson, and Sally Menti. Big changes to this roster. Everybody should know Trinity Rodman's back. There are no Gotham players with this FIFA Women's Champions Cup starting on the 28th. And those are some of the reasons that maybe some players that are consistently in camp you're not seeing on this roster. But McCall, for you, initial thoughts on this roster, and also what does it mean as a January camp? Like what is that kind of reintroduction to the beginning of 2026 for the national team?
Yeah, I mean, for me, just looking at her selection, this is kind of like a futures camp 2.0. Obviously leaving the more experienced and older players off of it to give them a rest. That's how it's looking for me. The tenured players need a break, and they're the ones who have the most miles on their bodies, and give some youngsters a shot, because the energy around January camp is a little bit more, hey, we're back from the holidays, get your feet wet, sharpen up your tools a little bit, get your fitness back, touch the ball and get back into the groove of things. It's a little bit more casual and like shaking off the dust. That's the energy around January camp. So for me, this is great from Emma, perfect time and opportunity to bring in some people for the first time, especially, like I said, when her hands are tied where she can't bring in any Gotham players. She wants to give the olders a rest so then they can start their cycle in February when they all turn into NWSL in preseason and they go full steam ahead through November.
January camp is the worst.
It's honestly, it really is. It's so painful.
Even from youth, I just remember it being like all fitness.
It is. And you're obviously lost fitness because all December you were like resting. And you're just like, I feel like throwing up every day after training.
Jen, it was like that for you too?
January camps were a fitness camp. It was testing all over again, and you'd just done it with club as well after a Christmas break. So it was like testing so many times in the space of a couple of weeks. We did that. We'd always have games. Obviously, the US team have games as well. But no, for me, January camp was like, oh, we just had a break. Did I do enough running? You're questioning everything that you just did over Christmas. And it was always a tough camp for us. I think it is across the board. I don't know if the game will have changed. Maybe I can't see US national team not doing testing in this window. That was always the same for us. But I agree with McCall. It's a very young team again. More experience to be gained for all of them, for sure. Meza, for me, she's got a little bit of experience, but missed out with injury last time out. And it's players like that I think we'll look forward to this kind of window with, big vets missing. Obviously, Rodman's back in, so that's awesome for the team. But still, your mainstream leaders that we're used to be seeing aren't quite there. So this is another massive opportunity for youngsters to get minutes, get more experience. And I feel like we've been saying that so much for Emma Hayes' teams since she kind of took over.
Continuing the narrative into 2026, as we can see. You get a cap,
still doing it.
Yeah. Waiting for it to shift, but still a really young team. So no, I'm excited to see how this one plays out in the next window.
Yeah, I am too. When I look at this roster, McCall, you said it well. I think it's also another futures camp. It's exciting. It's opportunity. I think when you're younger players that are still trying to really push into this player pool as somebody that's going to consistently be called in, to me, this is one of those last opportunities, this January camp. She believes Cup is coming up soon. We're going into a World Cup year after this. This is where the roster starts to get defined, and you see who can handle a January camp and translate it to club right away. The one player I've got my eye on, Raylan Turner, my girl. I think we finally saw her the second half of the season with Portland get her confidence consistently. I think that's so difficult as a young forward, and looking at her with the Sophia Wilson coming back into the Portland team, probably back into the national team at the next camp or two. She has to come in and make a statement. And going into a full team camp after the season she just had, leading the team at that front line, playing consistently, this is a really good way to start it off. And I hope that she brings that into this camp and we get to see a little bit of it, and it propels her at the beginning of the NWSL season. But McCall, I don't know if you had somebody that you had your eye on of who you really want to see stick out in this camp.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I'm just really excited about Corey Bethune lately. I think towards the latter end of the NWSL season, we started to see her come back alive again, get her fitness, get her flow. And I think that she can be so important for us when she gets more familiar with the international stage, that she can unlock any country's defense if we get her in her sharpest way and feeling the best with a U.S. Women's National Team jersey on. I think she can be very, very key for us. She's a great passer. She can beat people on the dribble. She's like kind of an extension of Rose Lavelle in that way. She's still improving to get to that level. She's still learning how to run without the ball and the space that she can push and pull with. But if she can add those layers to her game, it will be so beneficial for us. I'm really, really excited to see Croy in a U.S. jersey more and more often.
I definitely agree with that one. Another name who I think is just everyone going to get wise beyond her year, Olivia Moultrie.
Yeah.
Still 20, when you look at that, the roster, she stands out as someone who could be a vet already with what she's done in the game. So this is another opportunity. And I think from even, when you see really young players and know that they're already a leader or will become that, she's another one of those players that even at 20 is probably already a leader on a club level for sure. But from a national team perspective, another opportunity. Obviously has already got experience, but another camp to add it and grow into that role that she's probably already carving out herself, right? We all know that. But no doubt she'll be a top player in this camp.
Yeah, when I look at this, when you just brought up leaders, I was like, dang, who else is a vet leader on this team that you're going to look at? Lowe has still caps, yeah, but she's a veteran, but still a young player as far as national team goes. You know what I mean? When we look at caps, but I'm like, Trinity Rodman's back in. That's a big leadership standard holder for this team. But yeah, I think Olivia Moultrie is also the other one that you're like, yeah, the seasoned vet. Right. Even though she's so young with this team.
I mean, if I'm Emma, like we were talking about, like the kind of the mood and the mode of January camp. If I'm slipping into Emma's mind right now, I'm calling in these players to test their mentality, to push them beyond their comfort levels and see who's made of it. See who can grind it out in the tough times, because tournaments are tough, man. Tournaments are tough. You 2 months without a break. You train or play a game every day. Intense. Every game matters. And so whether they have it or not, I think she's going to be looking for it. And also if she can push it out of them and teach them what it's like to put that jersey on and play for your country, and that there is no giving up. There is no tired. There is no I'm fatigued. You just put your best face on. And she wants to see what these players are made of, what these young talents can not only do on the pitch, but who's inside of them.
Whew, January camp, brutal. Best of luck, ladies. You're going to be fit. You're going to be strong. Your preseason tests for NWSL are going to be a breeze after this. But we have big news coming up. The She Believes calendar and opponents are finally set for this women's national team, although till March. Still fun to look ahead. They'll be playing Argentina on March 1st in Nashville, Canada on the 4th in Columbus, and against Colombia on the 7th in good old New Jersey. So we maybe we get to be there. Maybe we'll do an E3 remote over in Jersey, over in Jen's neck of the woods. I don't know. Yep, I would love that.
You're welcome.
Oh yeah, we can pull up to Jen's.
Yeah.
But looking at these three opponents, McCall, I want to come to you first. Obviously, you played against these teams at this level with the national team. Are these really good tests for the U.S. to start the year off with, these matches for the She Believes Cup?
I mean, right away, I'm going to go look at Canada, because they used to be like our stepsister that was like right there, kind of bugging us, kind of pushing us along, kind of, that antagonist to us. But the last couple of years, I have not seen it from them. I used to think that they were a big top 5 threat, and sometimes I don't even think that they deserve to be in the top 10 anymore. I'm not sure what they need to fix. I know it was a big bummer for them when they were, kicked out of the Olympics. I'm sure that really, really hit all of them and their organization very hard, and that's hard to bounce back from. But they used to be right there, and they're not. So that, for me, I wish that they were better, because I want us to have better competition and actually, start growing in our competitive level, especially with, young camps coming in or players. And then Argentina's fun because they have that Latin flair that I don't think that we've quite figured out yet. The tricks and the flicks and the unpredictability. And I think that's a really healthy thing for us to be challenged with all the time, to just keep our wits about us, because like I said, in major tournaments, anything can happen at any moment, and they have a plethora of players who are full of creativity and talent. And so I like that looseness from Argentina that it's going to give to the U.S.
I'm excited for the Colombia game, honestly. I think even going back to looking at the Portugal games, when national team kind of against really technical sides, that's what I'm loving about these games coming up. They're Argentina, top technical team. Colombia, really technical. we've loved watching Caicedo in the Champions League. She's phenomenal outside winger. Ramirez is, had a really big hamstring injury with Chelsea, but expected to return pretty soon. I think she'll be back for that. Another top test. So, and a lot of players that play in the NWSL in from Colombia, Santos, Spirit. So there's that sort of familiarity to an extent, players coming into it as well. But Colombia have been a top side for a long time now, and probably don't get the sort of respect that they deserve. So for me, I'm excited for that game, and that's the New Jersey one. So we're gonna hopefully be there for sure. But yeah, I'm excited for that. I think these are big tests for the national team actually. So I'm really excited for that window as well.
Yeah, I think it's 3 very different tests, but McCall, I kind of have a similar sentiment about Canada. They have the talent. They have talented individuals, but I think we've seen them lose a little bit of that threat that they were a couple years back. But I know that they can get there. They have so many veteran players that play overseas in the Canadian League now, in the NWSL, that we've seen just thrive. So I hope we get to see that team back together in the She Believes Cup. But I do think the other biggest test for me is against Colombia. That is a team, Jen, you said it, don't get enough flowers. We get them in our backyard now, watching them every weekend in the NWSL. Some of these players, and Daniela Arias, Lacey Santos. We get to watch Linda Caicedo and many others in Champions League now. I mean, I think this federation has grown a lot. And I do think the US's biggest test, like you said, Jen, is against very technically savvy squads. And Colombia is that. And they've got the spice. Yeah. They are not afraid to come out and be physical. So I actually love that that's the last game in the She Believes Cup for the U.S. women's national team. But when we take a little bit of a step back before we transition with this national team, I think last year, the last friendly, my biggest thoughts were this team needs to solidify this roster, solidify the styles of play that are transitional but fluid that I think as Emma Hayes coded, and we've seen her finally, implement with this national team very quickly. But I want to see that solid roster that we're going to see in the following year at a World Cup. What does this actually look like? Who's the depth players? What are people's roles on this team, and what does that look like? And to me, the She Believes Cup is going to be that. From my perspective, we're not going to see the big experimental rosters going into this that we've seen.
Okay, you think so it's all fun and games are over in March?
I'm not going to say it's totally over, but I think that spine of a team, maybe the 17-18, is going to be much, much more clear. I think it has to be. You're out from going into a camp.
Still, I hear you, but it's so difficult because you're still a year and a half away from a major tournament, and anything can happen. Players will get injured, pregnant, whatever, right? So you want to start working on your favorable players, but you can't ignore that second team either, because if something happens, that player needs to be ready and have experience. And because Emma is so comfortable in rotating, I think she will continue it for a while. And then you run the risk of overplaying your players that you want there in the end too. It is such a harder job than people realize. It's hard.
Yeah, that's why I put the number though, 17-18. To me, those are, hey, here's where your roles are. Here's where you are. If you maintain this consistently, this is what it's going to be. I think we've had a really big runway to this.
Huge.
True. I think it's the classic. She'll have her core, and she's trying to build out her roster in that sense, and give rotations and swap-ins wherever necessary before. But of course, she's had the time, I guess, to give as much experience, and it's when I don't think there's any signs of stopping that. I always compare this because obviously I've worked a lot on England, and look at Adjuman. She literally made her first cap a couple of months before, scored on it, her debut, I think, and then took the European stage by storm at the Euros. So anything can happen. I totally agree. Injuries are part of football, but I definitely think she'll have her core very quickly, and we'll see that a little bit more. We've said it already. There's so many faces missing in this January camp. I think those faces will be in to kind of go to your point, Darian, in the March She Believes Cup. I do agree with that.
Yeah, where you have the cadence the level of play, the quick games, McCall, as you put it before, the grind that happens when you're in a tournament. You need your core players at that help distinguish what your team is and holding the standard.
Yeah.
Woo! I cannot wait. January camp coming up. Good luck, ladies. We wish you all the best. Can't wait to see what this year holds for the women's national team, for the U.S. But let's jump back to the NWSL because we have a couple of fun segments. We are going to be talking New Year, New NWSL, give a little TLC of what we want to see suits to some clubs and possibly the league and what we want to see changed. So stick with us after this quick break.
You can always count on Sundays with the NFL on CBS and Paramount Plus. So even if you can't count on accurate expiration dates,
That is a rookie mistake.
or people appreciating your fashion sense,
Jim, the crowd is not on board here.
you can always count on Sundays with the NFL on CBS, streaming on Paramount Plus.
Glad we wore our good jerseys. Yeah. Hey friends, welcome back. All right, new year, new NWSL, same A3, baby. Let's jump into what we would want to manifest, possibly see changes in the league happen. This can be anything. You could be as creative as you want or be as realistic as you want. So, Jen, I'm going to set you up first of what you want as sort of a refresh for a team in the NWSL or however you want to put it.
I totally understood this could have been a team thing. I went more league perspective. There's been so much chat around salary cap, and I would probably scrap that. I would say no hit high impact player, just no salary cap.
I'm sorry, I chuckle every time I hear hip. It's just it's so NWSL. It's like
you enjoy that, so sometimes that's maybe why I wanted to bring it up, because I know you enjoy it.
You'll give me a giggle.
My other one was, my brain's gone blank. Schedule. We talked about it a little bit. I would maybe argue to fit the August to May schedule.
No.
And have the same sort of transfer windows, have the same scheduling. It fit FIFA windows. It work around that kind of calendar. You wouldn't need to kind of miss certain games or be missing different people in squads at certain times because of scheduling over league format. So I would do that. I know Chicago.
So basically, what you're asking for is a collective bargaining agreement reopener, and I'm not doing it this time, girl. You do it. The minute we open that thing back up, the league is going to do what they want, and it's not going to be player focused. So that is my only concern about going with no salary cap. Because we have to go back into the contract, open it, and then all bargaining is back open, and they can also renegotiate other things against the players too. So I hear you. I want that so badly, but I'm wondering at what cost it would be.
What would be the cost?
Who knows what they would ask for? And we wouldn't be able to close the contract and move on and get no salary cap without giving something up.
See, this is why we have McCall, because I don't.
My attorney days are over. Yeah, that's the only thing that concerns me. I mean, we made a 9-year deal. Can we live it out, or is the salary cap that big of a deal where it's going to compromise the league at the expense of compromising the players because we'll have to give something up?
I don't know. I do like the no salary cap. I understand McCall, CBA, protecting the players, Hondo P.
Yeah.
Do I think hip is the solution? No. I do not think it is the solution. I think that's one of those trial and error things with the NWSL that is a quick Band-Aid because we're growing so quickly, but it's not actually the solution that's going to be the long-term best, which kind of leads me perfectly into my new personality reset for something in the NWSL, the NWSL itself. I want to see
our logo is enough with that thing.
I agree, but I want to see a rebrand. I want to see new music for the commercials for the NWSL. I want to see a different emblem of what a player looks like. I want the league to just be refreshed, cooler, more present, more up with the times of what the league is, of what the players represent, of what the marketing value of the league is. I think that we can look much more expensive, like we're going to be a league that doesn't have a salary cap that can pay the players. And I think putting that energy out there is going to push things forward. So that's my reset for the league, for women's footy, for the NWSL. I'm asking for something big, but I think it would propel things forward a little bit more.
I love that.
Has the NWSL had a rebrand since existence? Or
It's had like small ones.
I think no.
Okay. I'm here for it.
Maybe the crest has changed slightly or something, but I just think we're very dated for still a young league that is badass and has some of the biggest faces of women's football in the world and growing rapidly, where we're making things like hip to keep up with. Yeah. Let's
modernize it.
Yeah.
Our logo literally looks like it's from 100 years ago. And
it does.
Come to find out, their inspiration was from the MLB. They wanted to keep it very plain. Okay, well, the MLB started 100 years ago. So why would we take an old ass logo? Let's be fresh.
Let's refresh it. Let's make it cool. Let's reflect the players of the league. Let's make cool merch. Let's do cool stuff that for the marketing stuff is going to help pay for whatever else the NWSL needs. I don't know. I think it deserves a refresh. NWSL, if you need me, I can come help.
Yes.
I don't know. I like color. Give me a ring.
I was just about to say, the rebrand call, Darian, because
honestly,
that's it shining through. I'm here for it.
Thank you.
Darian for league front office.
What did you say?
I said Darian for league front office, please. Yeah. Somebody.
Maybe one day we'll see, ladies. Might be double dipping. McCall, what's your refresh for the NWSL? What's something you would want to see?
Okay, I went on a lot more micro than you guys. Not impossible, but definitely a rumor. Trini Rodman to LA.
Oh, that is so not what I thought you were going to say.
Yeah, it's her hometown. They need a top threatening goal scorer and striker. They look like they're about their business, willing to spend money and make some moves. She's the perfect busybody that loves the city and loves the doing extra off the field. She loves that brand stuff. I wouldn't be mad at it.
Whoa. I love this. I actually think if LA have the money, they've got Disney money, pay the girl, bring in big players,
a player like
that
is
women's
very,
soccer player.
Very marketable, and a big city like that is worth it.
Incredible player. They need a goal scorer. Woo! McCall, I really like that.
Yeah.
Okay, I got another one.
Good.
Emily Fox to Gotham this summer.
The jaw drop. In the jaw drop.
Yeah. That's why I can't hide my emotions. My bad.
I love it for her. I love it for them. It's possible. Her contract's up this summer.
Are we starting rumors here? Is this what we're doing?
Yep.
Oh, okay. So McCall jumped. We're on a new segment called "We're Starting a Rumor." So this is a hypothetical. I was like, "Dang, McCall, did you hear this? Is this what the streets are saying? Have I been out of commission for too long?" Okay, we're in the segment where it's called "I'm Starting a Rumor," and it's our fanciful ideas of dream transfers that we would want to see happen in the NWSL or overseas, wherever you want it to be. So, McCall, yours is Emily Fox to Gotham.
Yeah, and Trent to LA.
What made you think about the Emily Fox one?
There's rumors also that Bruninha is not going to return back to Gotham. I get the idea that Juan isn't exactly psyched on his outside backs, other than Lily. He kind of rotates quite a bit. Wondering if Foxy, when and if she will come back to America, especially during a World Cup year. Maybe she wants to be more local for camps. Or just yeah, I think the tables could be kind of set with that.
Oh, McCall, I like the way you're thinking. Mine is definitely not as like thought through or realistic. A girl can dream, but I'm gonna say Lauren James to LA. I look at LA, I'm like, that's a club that can pay. You're living in LA, you're in Hollywood, you're by the beach, LAX. I mean, to me, that's a very appealing market for big players to go to. So I like what you said about Trinity Rodman. And imagine her and Lauren James on the same team. That would be pretty dope. And they need a creative central midfielder, floater type of player that can define the team once again.
And then Ari Borg is just the destroyer. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You guys, remember, I don't know what's going to happen off the back of this, but one in the chat I love, Julia Gavin to the wave. I kind of love that.
Oh, that's a good shout.
It's a really good one.
I think Jonas and San Diego could attract, and like the French overtaking of that team and how they play could attract a lot of European players. Maybe that's what's happening with them.
Do you know who I've always loved to see in the NWSL? And I'm going to preface this that I know she's my friend and I don't want this actually to become a rumor because I might get in trouble. But I do think Beth Mead would be amazing in the NWSL.
Really?
Jen, This is so funny because when I saw our segments, I thought Beth Mead to San Diego.
Yeah.
And I thought you would say something about Beth.
Maybe not
And
San
I
Diego.
feel like there's a layer that she hasn't unlocked yet. And the NWSL could be the answer for her.
I just think, look, she's phenomenal. She's kind of been in and out Arsenal starting 11, but has like been playing a lot recently and like very, very well. So I can't see her. I'm gonna message her after to say really sorry for something, but I just think she would really suit the league. I think she's
I think so too.
you know, great technically, great goal scorer. She can play out wide. She can play. She became a name for playing a number 9 actually at Sunderland. And
Strong on the ball.
Very good forward runner, like timing of running and behind. I just think she'd be so good in the NWSL, whether it's Gotham or LA or San Diego. I could see her more at Gotham. I would prefer that. She'd be a little local for me. She can stay here. It'd be great. Yeah, definitely have to call her now. But I can see her.
So I said something and
No, I love that. It's funny, Jen.
Rumor, right? Not heard it from anywhere. I just think I know her really well as a player, and I think she'd love it, and I think she'd be awesome in the league.
Yeah, it's so funny, Jen. I literally told myself, "Oh, don't write Beth Mead," because I think Jen will say something just because of that. She's been come on, see, it's the wavelengths; they're still going. But I would love to see her over in the NWSL. I actually think there's a lot of players on Arsenal that would look great in the league. I think it like translates very well. That's why I've seen some players that, like an Emily Fox have gone over and done well, or some of the Aussies that played in the league that went over to Arsenal and done really, really well.
Jen, what do you know about Beth's contract?
I think everyone knows that it's.
Share?
Pardon?
Care to share?
Nope. I give field on that one. I think everyone knows it's up in summer. I think. Yeah, that's as much as I'll say on that one.
It's okay. We'll see. This is a fun seg. We're just manifesting what could maybe happen one day. We would love to see these players in the league. We would love to see the league bolster up, especially those big market teams that are very attractive to players to come over to the NWSL. Your girls can dream. Ladies, that was our show. That was a really fun way to welcome back, start off 2026 with Attacking Baird with everybody in the chat. We appreciate it so, so much. Make sure you comment. Let us know some rumors maybe you would want to see happen within the intra-league, intra-country transfers that we could possibly see. Don't forget, we will be back next Thursday. You won't see us for a whole week at 11 a.m. once again to chop it up about the NWSL and the leagues overseas. We appreciate you so much. From McCall, Jen, Trey, and Audrey, I'm Darian. This was Attacking Third.